You're not broken. You're just distracted by noise that sounds like truth. Words you've repeated for so long, they feel like facts. But they're not. They're walls. Invisible walls you've built with your own mouth. Because the most dangerous thing a man can do isn't to fail. It's to speak failure into existence. To declare defeat before he even starts. To poison the soil and then wonder why nothing grows. Success isn't just a matter of work. It's a matter of words. Because what you say out loud becomes what you believe in silence. And what you believe becomes your life. So stop saying these things. Not because they make you weak, but because they keep you from becoming strong. Let's begin with one of the most subtle killers of growth. A phrase dressed in pride, cloaked in false confidence. I already know that. It slips out like a badge of honor. But what it really is a locked door. A wall slammed shut between you and wisdom. You see, the man who says, I already know that, is no longer listening. He's performing, defending an image of himself that needs to be right more than it needs to be better. But here's the truth. No one tells you. You can't grow while you're performing. You can't learn while you're trying to look like you've already arrived. And you definitely can't win while your ego is talking louder than your hunger. The most intelligent men I've met speak the least when they know the most. Why? Because wisdom doesn't need to interrupt. It waits. It watches. It learns something new in places others overlook. A real man doesn't fear repetition. He embraces it. Because mastery isn't born in variety, it's carved in depth. It's hearing the same truth for the 100th time and catching the nuance you missed the first 99. So the next time you hear a lesson you think you've already mastered, don't speak. Lean in. Ask yourself, what am I not seeing yet? Because that one extra inch of insight, that could be the difference between average and unstoppable. Now let's talk about the phrase that buries potential before it even breathes. That's impossible. If you've ever said those words, understand this. You weren't describing the world. You were describing your limits. Because impossible is never a fact. It's a confession. It's a man revealing the size of his imagination, or lack of it. Wright brothers, Carnegie, Edison, every one of them was told their dream was impossible. And thank God they ignored it. Because impossible is just the resistance you meet right before a breakthrough. The Stoics said, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. And they were right. Your fear is a liar. It tells you that risk is a cliff when really it's just a step. When you say, that's impossible, what you're really saying is, I'm not willing to look for another way. You're trading possibility for comfort. And comfort is where dreams go to die. So stop using those words. Not because they're wrong, but because they don't help. Replace them with a better question. What's the next step I can take? And then take it. Not with bravado, but with persistence. That's how empires are built, one imperfect step at a time. Here's another phrase intelligent men remove from their vocabulary. That's not my fault. It feels fair, doesn't it? You didn't cause the mistake. You didn't drop the ball. But here's the brutal truth. The moment you push responsibility away, you push power away with it. Success is not about blame. It's about ownership. And if you don't own part of the problem, you don't get to be part of the solution. The men who rise in life are the ones who take responsibility for more than they caused. They do it not to be praised, but to have the power to change outcomes. They understand that progress doesn't come from finger-pointing. It comes from stepping up. When something breaks, don't look around. Look inward. Ask, what could I have done differently? And even if the answer is small, own it. That ownership becomes momentum. It builds trust. It sharpens your mind. And over time, it creates a life others want to follow. Blame is reactive. Responsibility is proactive. One locks you in place. The other moves you forward. Every single time. Let's go even deeper. This next phrase sounds like strength on the outside, but it's just fear in disguise. I don't need any help. You've heard it. You've said it. Maybe you believed it. But here's the truth. No man becomes great alone. Not Lincoln. Not Roosevelt. Not the men building silent fortunes while the world's busy chasing clout. Behind every strong man is a stronger community. Mentors, allies, challengers, friends. Lions don't survive the wild because they hunt solo. They survive because they move as a pride. When you say, I don't need any help, what you're really saying is, I'm afraid of being seen as weak. But listen carefully. Strength is not in carrying it all. It's in knowing what to carry and what to share. Help is not a crutch. It's leverage. And leverage is how you move mountains. If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, ask, receive, give back. That's how legacy is built. So when the pressure builds and you feel yourself slipping into isolation, don't retreat. Reach. Because vulnerability is not the opposite of strength. It's the birthplace of it. Then there's the phrase that whispers in the back of your mind when you're standing at the edge of something new, something unfamiliar, something that asks more from you than you've ever given before. I'm too old for that. Let me tell you the truth, plain and sharp. Age has nothing to do with potential. It has everything to do with permission. And most men stop giving themselves permission long before time ever slows them down. They say, I'm too old, when they really mean, I'm too scared to begin again. They say it to excuse their retreat, to make resignation sound reasonable. But intelligent men don't say it, because they've met men who proved it wrong. Men like Harry Bernstein, who published his first book at 96. Men like Colonel Sanders, who franchised KFC in his 60s. Men who didn't let the calendar tell them when they were finished because they weren't. Here's what they understood. Age isn't a deadline. It's a depth. It's years of perspective, pressure, and perseverance, all waiting to be turned into something powerful. So the next time you think you've missed your shot, remember this. As long as you're breathing, your mission isn't over. You haven't peaked. You've been preparing. Say this instead. What am I still capable of creating? Because purpose doesn't expire. But it does go silent if you stop listening. Now we come to one of the most comfortable lies a man can believe. It hides behind good intentions. It delays dreams with logic. It sounds like planning, but it's actually procrastination dressed in a suit. I'll do it later. Later is a mirage. It looks safe. It sounds smart, but it vanishes the moment you reach for it. The Stoics didn't hope for later. They prepared for now. Marcus Aurelius wrote, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think. He wasn't being dramatic. He was being honest. Because when you see time clearly, you stop wasting it on things that don't matter. You stop postponing conversations. You stop delaying your calling. You stop waiting for someday, because you realize that someday is the lie that steals today. Think of the dreams you've shelved, the words you saved, the people you've put off reconnecting with. Now ask yourself, what would it look like if I acted today? What would my life become if I refused to wait? Later doesn't protect you. It sedates you. It keeps you safe, yes, but only from the life you were meant to live. So make the call, send the email, start the project, say the truth, because every delay costs you something, and eventually the cost is everything. And now perhaps the most damaging phrase of all, one that sounds like self-awareness, but is actually surrender, one that masquerades as identity, but is nothing more than avoidance. That's just how I am. Let's tear this one apart. When a man says, that's just how I am, He's not describing his nature. He's declaring his refusal to evolve. It's the voice of someone who's been burned before and decided to stop trying. It's the echo of wounds never faced. And it's the fastest way to trap yourself in a version of life you hate but feel too powerless to change. But here's what the great thinkers, the builders, the Stoics knew. You are not stone. You are clay. And the hand that molds you is yours. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." That mastery starts when you stop defining yourself by your patterns and start defining yourself by your potential. If you've been angry, it doesn't mean you're an angry man. If you've failed, it doesn't mean you're a failure. If you've avoided intimacy, responsibility, or discipline, it doesn't mean you're incapable. It just means you've been afraid. And fear can be faced. Fear can be dismantled. The intelligent man doesn't resist change, he invites it. He says, "This is who I've been, but it's not who I have to stay." He studies himself. He breaks patterns. He rewrites stories, not to please others, but to become free. Growth demands pain. It demands honesty. It demands that you look in the mirror and say, "You were wrong, but you're not done." And when you say that, truly say it, you break the loop. You step into a different version of yourself. Not perfect, but powerful. Not finished, but in motion.